All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're looking at, it's called Essence of Merli, Offering of Vices.
Okay.
And it's from February 20th, 2025. I got to say, some of this stuff is pretty out there. It's got cycles of time, um, negativity, spiritual growth, the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
But there's this one thing that really grabbed me. It talks about giving up vices to get out of an eclipse, like a metaphorical eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that eclipse part, it's like, it's a really interesting way to think about it, right? Like being blocked from the light, you
So
know?
like the sun and the moon, like a real eclipse.
Exactly. Like something's hidden. And the discourse seems to be saying that, that we can get past that darkness, but we got to give something up, those vices.
I see. So it's like our vices are like casting a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of vices are we talking about? Is this like, I got to give up coffee?
Probably a little deeper than that. Think of it more like habits, things that hold you back.
Could be negativity or even like procrastination.
Yeah.
Or maybe holding on to grudges, stuff like that. Those are the kind of vices that really block you, you know, that dim your inner light.
Okay, yeah. It's not about material stuff, but about negative stuff. Makes sense. So how does this offering up work? What do we do with these vices?
That's where the sacrifice idea comes in. The discourse, it doesn't really give specifics, but it feels like it's about making a real effort to let go of these negative things, to something bigger than us.
So it's like I got to acknowledge them and then let them go.
Yeah, you got it. Interesting. But how does this tie back into the eclipse and the spiritual light thing?
Okay, think about it this way. Holding on to those vices, it's like creating that eclipse inside you. It's blocking you from, growing spiritually. And by letting go, you're clearing that path. You let the light in.
Oh, okay, I get that. It's like all that negativity is static and we can clear it out to get a clearer signal. Now, there's this other thing in here about Rahu. It says the world is under the influence of Rahu.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm a little rusty on Vedic astrology.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could break that down for us.
Sure. So in Vedic astrology, Rahu, it's a shadow planet. It's not, a physical planet that you can
Well, so it's not like Jupiter or Mars or something.
Right. It's more like a point in space. It's where the sun and moon's paths cross.
Gotcha.
And it's all about eclipses, obstacles, and wanting material things.
Ah, so there's the eclipse connection again. So is it like this big cosmic force that's making all those vices worse?
Yeah, exactly. It's making it harder to, to break free.
Wow.
And if you look at Hindu mythology, Rahu is, he's like this serpent and he swallows the sun or the moon, causing the eclipse.
Oh, right. I remember that.
It's all symbolic,
Yeah.
Represents those challenges we face.
So how do we deal with this Rahu thing? Can we even get out of this shadow?
That's where the discourse really leans on, knowledge and being spiritual. Like if we understand these forces and work on our inner light, then maybe we can lessen its grip, we can see more clearly.
So we're not just like stuck. We can actually do something about it.
Exactly. We have choices.
So that's two big things. Understanding this Rahu thing and then offering up those vices. Anything else this thing says about getting through these tough times?
Well, there's this whole thing about cycles of time, like this big 5,000-year cycle. And it even mentions the kalpa vriksha, that wish-fulfilling tree.
Oh, yeah. Is it like saying, give up your vices and your wishes come true? Like, is it that simple?
Not quite that easy.
Yeah.
But the kalpa vriksha connection is interesting, right? It ties this idea of letting go with reaching what you really want.
So it's like clear out the bad to make room for the good.
Yeah, exactly. It's about aligning with something bigger, with your potential.
I like that. And what about the 5,000-year cycle thing?
Well, that's like the yugas in Hinduism, those different ages. Each one has a meaning,
Right. So it's like history repeating kind of. We go through these cycles of being better and worse spiritually, like those cycles people talk about in politics, right?
Yeah.
How empires rise and fall.
Right. And this discourse seems to be saying that that we're at a specific point in this cycle right now. Like it's hard, but also we have a chance to change.
So it's like a turning point. What we do matters.
Yeah, exactly. And the discourse, it really stresses knowledge, understanding. It talks about a Baba who teaches and guides.
Yeah.
Like having a mentor.
So it's not enough to just know about it. We have to use that knowledge, right? I mean, knowing stuff without doing anything doesn't really get you anywhere.
You got it. And this source is saying, understand the cycles, know where you fit in, and then you can really understand yourself and your potential.
Wow, it's a lot to think about. Offering up vices, this Rahu thing, cycles of time. It's like a giant cosmic puzzle or something. Yeah. And we've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
We have. There's more to this. This discourse talks about purity and spiritual evolution and even about reaching this state of liberation.
Well, listeners, sounds like we're just getting started. In the next part, we'll really unpack all this and see how it fits together. Stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back. We're still digging into this essence of Murli thing. And we've been talking about some pretty heavy stuff. Giving up those vices, dealing with Rahu, these huge cycles of time.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
It is. But this next part, it talks about going from being a deity to a devotee. And I'm kind of stuck on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We usually think of like deities being at the top.
Right.
Spiritually speaking.
So are we like going backwards here?
I don't think it's about like going up or down. It's more like it's more about these cycles we talked about. Even if you're, really spiritually advanced, you might go back to this seeking phase, like being a devotee. It's all part of this bigger cycle.
Okay, I can kind of see that. Like you reach a certain level, but there's always more to learn. You're a student again.
Exactly. It's like the seasons, right? Things change, or the moon, how it waxes and wanes. Our spiritual journey, it does that too. Sometimes you grow, sometimes you let go.
It's more like a dance than a straight line, huh?
I like that. And speaking of cycles, this discourse, it also brings up reincarnation. It says our soul, it goes through all these different lifetimes, learning and growing along the way.
So it's not like a one-shot deal. We get do-overs?
Seems like it. Each life, it's like a chapter in this big story of our soul. And each time we get to, refine things, let go of old stuff, get closer to being liberated.
Liberation. That's a big word. What does that even mean here? Is like you reach enlightenment and then you're done, like graduation?
The discourse, it doesn't really define it, but it talks about a karmicless state, like being free from all that karma stuff.
Okay, karma. Every time I hear that, I think what goes around comes around. But being free from it, what does that actually look like?
Well, karma, it's all about cause and effect, right? What we do, good or bad, it creates these ripples, and they affect what happens to us. It's not, punishment or reward. It's more like just the natural way things work. And this discourse is saying, if we grow spiritually, if we're aware of ourselves, we can break free from that whole cycle.
So it's not about not doing anything. It's about, like, thinking before you act.
Yeah. It's about, realizing everything's connected. What you do affects you and everyone else.
That's deep. It's like we're all creating this reality together. And if we own our actions, we can make things better.
Exactly. And this liberation, this being free from karma, it's not about running away from the world. It's about like being in it, but with more awareness, more kindness.
This is heavy stuff. It's like peeling back layers of an onion or something. With each layer, you see things more clearly.
I agree. And to add another layer, the discourse, it brings up Lakshmi and Jagadamba, two really important goddesses in Hinduism.
Okay, now I'm a little rusty on my Hindu mythology.
Yeah.
Can we get a refresher on those two? What are they all about in this context?
Lakshmi, she's the goddess of wealth, abundance. She's usually shown with a lotus flower. It's a symbol of purity and doing well.
Also, is this thing saying if you grow spiritually, you get rich? Like win the lottery rich?
Not necessarily literally, but it's saying that that following these spiritual ideas, it can bring good things. Remember, we talked about offering up those vices, right?
Yeah. Maybe
when you clear that stuff out, you make room for more good to come in, and not just money, but love, joy, feeling fulfilled.
Makes sense. Okay, and what about this Jagadamba? What's her deal?
Jagadamba, she's also called Durga or Kali sometimes. She's a powerful mother goddess. She's often shown as a warrior, fighting evil.
Wow, that's quite different from Lakshmi. One's all abundance and the other's a warrior. It's like two sides of being feminine, But how do they both fit into this spiritual growth thing?
Well, they're different, but they both have a ton of power. Lakshmi reminds us that we can nurture, that we can create good things. And Jagadamba, she shows us that we can be strong, that we can face challenges.
So are we supposed to pick one? Like, do I focus on being abundant or being a warrior?
I don't think it's about picking one. It's more about recognizing these parts of ourselves. We all have a little bit of both inside us, you know?
I like that. It's like we have all these different tools and we can use whichever one we need. You can be nurturing and strong, abundant and brave all at the same time.
Right. And when we, understand and use all these different parts, we become more whole, more powerful. Remember, this discourse, it's about reaching our full potential and becoming liberated, and maybe embracing these feminine qualities is part of that.
This has given me a lot to think about. It's not just about being a better person. It's about like uncovering these hidden parts of myself, these like divine qualities I didn't even know I had.
That's what's so cool about exploring spirituality, right? It's not just learning new stuff. It's about remembering who you really are. It's about finding that wisdom and potential that's already inside you.
Wow, we've covered so much ground.
Yeah.
Cycles, liberation, these feminine archetypes. It's all coming together.
It is. And in the last part, we'll look at the end of this spiritual journey, what it means to reach that highest level, and what it means for us in our everyday lives.
All right, listeners, we're heading into the final stretch of this deep dive. Get ready for some more mind-blowing stuff as we explore the ultimate goal of this path. Stick with us. All right, so here we are, the final part of our deep dive into this essence of Merle thing. It's been quite a journey. Vices, Rahu, cycles of time, spiritual evolution. Lot to unpack.
It has been quite a journey. And now this last part, it points us toward the end goal,
Yeah.
reaching that highest spiritual level.
Okay, we've talked about growing spiritually and being free from karma, but what does reaching the top actually mean? Like, what's it look like?
Well, the discourse says it's like becoming a child of the Baba. It's a powerful image, right? Like
Yeah.
being reborn spiritually,
Yeah.
connecting to something much bigger, beyond all the earthly stuff.
Becoming a child of the Baba, it's like you're letting go of all that baggage,
Mhm.
all those ideas about who you are, and you're just open and innocent again.
Exactly. And it goes back to what we were talking about before,
Yeah.
going from deity to devotee. It's like even when you've reached a high level, you still choose to surrender to something bigger. You're still learning like a child.
It's like saying, okay, I get it, but I'm still a student here. There's a humility to that,
Absolutely. And in that surrender and that unity with the Baba, that's where you find true liberation, true fulfillment.
It makes me think of those times when you feel like awe, like looking at a crazy sunset or really connecting with nature. It's like you're touching something way bigger than yourself, and it gives you this peace,
Right.
like you belong.
That's a great example. Those moments, those are glimpses of that unity, that connection with the divine, And the discourse says through spiritual practice, through devotion, we can strengthen that connection, make it a bigger part of our lives.
It's not just about getting somewhere. It's about how you are, how you see the world, being loving, humble, connected,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the most beautiful part of this whole thing. It's not about some big external achievement. It's about changing from the inside out.
And as you change yourself, you change the world around you too, like that ripple effect, the karma thing we were talking about. It goes outward, it
Yeah.
affects your relationships, your actions, everything.
Absolutely. And when you cultivate that inner peace, that devotion, you become like a beacon, you inspire others to start their own journey. It's like we're all moving towards this greater awareness, this love and compassion.
Wow, that's a powerful thought. We're all connected, like in this big cosmic dance or something.
Yeah.
And what we do, it really matters.
It does. And this deep dive, it's given us a peek into that dance, hasn't it? The challenges, the opportunities, the final goal.
Yeah, it's been really insightful. I feel like I understand these spiritual ideas better,
Mm.
but also like myself
Mm.
and where I fit in this whole thing.
That's the power of looking into these old teachings, isn't it? They give us a way to understand ourselves, the world around us, and they help us live better, more consciously, with more compassion and joy.
And to everyone listening, we hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have. Maybe you've learned something new or have new questions, or maybe even a renewed sense of purpose, on your own spiritual path.
Wherever you are on that path, remember you're not alone. We're all in this together. We're all part of this amazing unfolding of consciousness. And as we learn and grow together, we make the world a better, more beautiful place for ourselves and for everyone who comes after us.
Beautifully said. Well, folks, that's the end of our deep dives into the essence of Merle. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, may your journey be full of wonder, wisdom, and the joy of discovering new things.